divinity is hidden in the very core of our humanity. We often walk this path looking for salvation, looking for a safe place to hide from ourselves. What is possible is that in this journey, at one point, we realize that all the weapons we used to run away from ourselves don't work anymore. And this is a place of desperation for the one we believe to be. A place where what we know doesn't work anymore. But it's a beautiful, beautiful door. It's a door that the mind calls fear. And is a door that leads to you. That very energy that the mind calls fear, that contraction in your being, can be crossed, can be walked through, can be felt, can be known, can be drank. And you can reach that openness that the mind calls vulnerability. And know that what you really are is already always free, untouched, pure, still. It is from this stillness that is your true being. It is from this silence that you are, that you can at that point afford to meet anything and everybody. Because at that point you will see that everything is you. The tears, the laughter, the pain, the joy is you. The suffering is actually looking for that salvation. That's the funny part. And liberation is the possibility to encounter, to meet all there is in your heart as it is. To take the beautiful, beautiful, incredible, miraculous journey to being the divine in a human form. Because although we really believe to be a human being looking for God, we are the divine experiencing the human. We often believe that this awakening is an awakening for a person. And this awakening is the awakening from the illusion to be a person. And it's not done by a person. It is consciousness itself. It is what is right now listening through your ears, is looking through your eyes. It's the true presence of all this form that lifetime after lifetime meets all the polarities of conditioning, of manifestation, knows all those polarities, all those good and bads, positive and negative. And in knowing them, in meeting them deeply, profoundly, it awakens. Who knows me, heard me use this metaphor before, but you have to listen it again, because to me it's so fitting. Like the oyster, he is invaded by a grain of sand. And the grain of sand is a deep irritation for the oyster. And so the oyster starts to develop a beautiful pearl. And the pearl, the jewel, comes in the staying with, in the sitting with, in letting being churned, by this irritation. That is the sense of separation. The reason why we suffer this sense of separation is because we know it's not true. But we want to know it consciously on all levels of our being, in our mind, in our heart, in our body. And then the journey carries on in the universal body, in the collective body. So this journey of awakening is often just taken as a process of transcendence from the illusion of the me to the liberation of the true self. What is my invitation today is to see that this is the beginning of a true spiritual life in which we can descend back and meet all that we call imperfections, all that we call errors, all that we call mistakes, ego, broken parts, and let our divine being shine through it. How? When we live from this sense of separation, all our life tends to belong to the false identity of the me. And so we tend to live a life that is full of lies, is full of compensation, of strategy to protect ourselves. And sometimes those strategies are spiritual strategies, and we know it. We tend to attach ourselves to what we know, and we tend to bypass what is uncomfortable. From silence, from stillness, from this beautiful, beautiful space that is our true being, we have the opportunity to approach back that contraction of the ego structure and to become intimate with that pain, becoming intimate with that fear. And at that point, the very same energy that build up the me can be used to shine into manifestation, to radiate into manifestation, so that your life can belong to the true self. This is something that is very dear to my heart, because very often, especially in non-dual circle, we speak about the absolute truth of the absence of the person and the absolute truth of our true nature that is not doing but being. But not so often we are able to explore the possibility that that being can express itself, can let the individuality of these forms to become the incarnation of the divine. Unless we see this, it will look like our spiritual life will be very disconnected from our everyday life. It will look like it's impossible to be a full individual in this society and being awakened. To let this awakening descend in your everyday life, all those repetitious patterns of identification has to be met consciously, has to be meditated, has to be known, not with your mind, but in your heart. And then, that very same energy can be used to let this drive that the form has to express, to be yourself, to let the body feel good. I feel so much myself here, without the filters of the me. This force of impersonality then meets this force of individualization, the Shakti that manifests in 1 billion forms, so that from what you really are, you can become you, unique. You can be the pearl of the divine. So this is really, in a nutshell, as synthetic as I can, the invitation I would like to bring here. And I know that this journey into fragility, vulnerability, into the simplicity of the heart can be challenging. But I also know that the suffering comes actually not from feeling the pain or feeling the fear, but from trying to avoid it. So if any of you want to comment this or to share or to ask, I'm really happy to do it with you. I believe in the force and the power of the group, of the field of consciousness we are all immersed in. And so if you like, I'm very happy to discuss this with you. You see, what is truth? If your heart trembles, that's truth. If you hate your wife, that's truth in that moment. It's not a theory. It's the ability to stay with reality, with life as it is, and to see that this beautiful dream life is the embodiment of consciousness. You see, that energy that the mind calls fear is actually your joy, trapped into conviction, into belief. So if you're courageous enough to be afraid, to have fear, you can touch it again. And let the body play with it. And let the body be a beautiful puppet in the hands of the divine. And at the same time, seeing that you are the divine. And enjoying to be the creator and the creator. If this is not possible, something will be avoided. And then you will miss yourself. You will be feeling separated.
After meeting a particular fear in different points, like in layers, is there a moment in which there would be no doubt left for the fact that you've met it fully?
Okay. Ask yourself, who wants to know it? It's strange to contemplate this, but hope is a very negative thing. When we want to have a certainty or a hope that one day we will be safe, it's because there is still something that we haven't offered. And we can see this and be very tender with it. One day, a friend of mine told me, you know, if you cannot handle fear, at least smile to it. Smile at those hidings that you still maybe attach yourself to. Watch it with tenderness, with the compassion. There is no certainty in an ever-changing dream. You have to find a true anchor in nothingness. And to do this, the divine is guiding you in experiencing your life. That is your true spiritual practice. Your life as it is. Thank you for asking.
I'd love to have you talk a little bit about trauma and how physical trauma, early developmental trauma might impact the process.
I'm not a therapist, so I'm not in a position to completely reply to your question. But we could say that the body has a memory, and that memory, unless has the possibility to be released, to upsurge from what is subconscious to consciousness, and to be seen and released, it will carry on repetitiously appearing in what we call our life. Our life is a perfect reflection, a perfect embodiment of consciousness. So when those repetitious patterns are still held back through identification, they will tend to appear again and again and again. The names and the faces will change, but the energy will be there, and you know it. And it arrives a moment in which it's possible for you not to be so interested in the explanations, in the stories that those patterns carry, but you are open to meet the core of them. And you will do it one layer after one layer. For instance, arrogance is guarding your beautiful insecurity. And that beautiful insecurity is guarding the fear of not being enough, strong enough. And if you can cross that vulnerability, nothing remains. And you are, my dear, that nothing. And that is unbreakable. Thank you.
Today, I continue to disconnect from the body, and when I connect myself to the body, I feel pain without a story and I'm asking if this connection is an act of compassion of the
Yeah.
consciousness, because I feel like it's an act of compassion.
Sometimes we need to unplug the spine because it's too much. But you will be noticing for sure that what is watching, what is witnessing, that disconnection is always present. You are always present. It's very important that we understand that the only place from which we can welcome all this process of embodiment that I spoke about is a silence. You cannot afford to meet that pain unless you have a starting point that is still in you. It is the self, the true self, that welcomes the me. So when you notice that disconnection, and then you notice the trying to connect back with the body, and then you notice the pain, please include in your observation that you are unmoving and abide in this. That's Shiva, that's silence.
Thank you.
Thank you so much. You see, we all see this coming and going of this movement of the me. And when we notice them, we might fall in the idea that they should stop for us to be safe, for us to be free. And this is not true. What you are is already always free and safe and still. But unless all that has been appearing is included in this silence, seeking will be there and suffering will be there. What I call love is what knows no separation. So we could say that this journey is really to be consciously this love, to reach our being that is the unconditional, that allows any condition to be. And from here, we can finally enjoy our beautiful creation. You see, even when we are not available to touch these hot spots, these wounds, even that is not wrong. Because even when we are afraid and we run away, that is an experience that consciousness has to take. Because we have to learn from that running away. There are no mistakes, because there is not a me doing all this. As I said before, it's consciousness that is exploring this journey. And sometimes we have to run away 1 billion times until all the tangents that we used to take, they close down. And even if in a lifetime it's not possible to see this, it doesn't matter, because the game carries on through other forms, because it's one consciousness that wakes up. Enjoy this impermanence. Therefore, enjoy all those clouds passing in your sky, if you can, and smile to them. Because it's all just here for a second, really. And then it's not. That's why it's precious. When we want to fix the dream instead of loving it, we suffer. When you start loving it, it doesn't matter how it is. That's when you start to get fixed. I invite you to close your eyes for a moment, if you can. Close your eyes and contact this beautiful silence that is here. Include the noises and the sound. Include what the mind calls a body. And please notice how all this is just a vibration in you silence. The noises are a vibration, the voice is a vibration, the body sitting is a vibration. Is a movement of your own being. Is a vibration of your being. That is how you create what you see. Is your being that is vibrating. And then very slowly, very consciously, open your eyes and add form and color to your meditation. Still, all you see is vibration. A vibration of your own being. This is your dream, is your consciousness moving and appearing as this room, as these people, as this woman talking. Is already true. It doesn't have to become true. It's already real. And when we can, from this silence, from this stillness, welcome everything as it is. No need to be fixed, no doubts to be dissolved. Then you know what love is. Then you're free from the idea to be bound. Go in your heart. You know how to do it. Don't listen to the mind. Go in your heart and watch from your heart life. Then your life will start to belong to the reality of your being and not to the lies of the ego. The heart is a sublime door between emptiness and form. Is the way in which, for consciousness through the human being, things are manifesting. When you take life as it is in your heart, then this energy is given back to emptiness. And emptiness takes it and can reproject it through your heart into manifestation. But this time, unfiltered by the sense of separation. And this is how we bring heaven on earth. Because heaven is not a faraway realm that we will be reaching one day. It is this beautiful spaciousness in which the heart opens.